For 2,000 years, the Western world was ruled by an oppressive ideology known as Christianity, whereby we were stuck in a dark age. Fueled by misinformation and disinformation, we achieved absolutely nothing of note during that time. But today, all that has changed thanks to the rise of science. Whereby now we live in a new age of enlightenment. An age of facts and logic. Their ugly buildings have been torn down and replaced with new, more sophisticated displays. Their false idols have been purged and replaced with true modern heroes. And their foul good-for-nothing literature has all been burned and replaced with real works of art. But despite our best efforts, there is still one day of the year that the Christians still control, a day they refer to as Christmas. And thus, it's time for a new event to take its place. One that celebrates not fairy tales or debunked myths, but reality and the truth. It's time for Sciencemas. On the first day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me a peer-reviewed study. On the second day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the third day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the fourth day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 5th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 6th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 7th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 7 skeptics sighing, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 8th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 8 censored comments, 7 skeptics sighing, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 9th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 9 neoliberals, 8 censored comments, 7 skeptics sighing, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 10th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 10 new commandments, 9 neoliberals, 8 censored comments, 7 skeptics sighing, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 11th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 11 excellent genders, 10 new commandments, 9 neoliberals, 8 censored comments, 7 skeptics sighing, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds and a peer-reviewed study. On the 12th day of Sciencemas, my college sent to me 12 chemistries, 11 excellent genders, 10 new commandments, 9 neoliberals, 8 censored comments, 7 skeptic sighings, 6 trusted sources, 5 nose rings, 4 Funko Pops, 3 globe earths, 2 Reddit golds, and a peer-reviewed study. Oh yeah! Ho ho ho! Happy Sciencemas, everybody! You look like shit! Hello folks, today as you can see I'm live in Santa's Grotto, and here I have the whiteboard. Actually, there we go, I'm going to pull a Netflix on you, that's probably much easier on your eyes. And yeah, today I'm going to run you through a sociological framework that I've come up with on the blackboard here today. And I call this sociological framework the 3 steps, no, the 3 levels, I'm definitely not making this up on the spot, the 3 levels of civilizational understanding. Yes, and let me show you this concept, right? So this is level 1, this is level 2, and this is level 3. Okay, and the idea is that if you want to achieve civilizational understanding, which of course you do, right? You have to understand level 1, level 2, and level 3. Because if you don't, you'll never understand civilizational understanding. And I know that you're probably thinking, Alex, what are you talking about? This sounds crazy. Bear with me, and you'll understand. All right, so let's start off then right from the beginning, right? And the beginning is, of course, level 1. Okay. So rather than just tell you what level 1 is, I want to play a little bit of a game. I'm going to draw something, okay? And I want you to guess what it is I'm drawing. All right, now, I'm not the best artist in the world, as you probably, if you know me, you know that's true. But I'll try my best anyway. So what am I drawing here? If you can, if you can make out. Okay, there we go. And okay, there we go. Do you see? You're getting a clear picture now. Right, what is this? What is that? That is, of course, someone praying, right? It's a religious person. He's going, he's praying to you know, his deity, right? And so level 1 is essentially people who believe in the religion they were indoctrinated with as a child through adulthood. Okay, now indoctrinated, that sounds a little bit aggressive, but the bottom line is this. If you're a Christian, the chances are, statistically speaking, that your parents were also Christian. If you're Muslim, your parents were also probably Muslim. If you're Jewish, your parents were probably Jewish. Same thing with Hindu, Buddhist, Shinto, etc., right? Like, factually speaking, people take on the religion of whatever their parents were. Now, why is this the case? Well, you know, it's not really rocket science. You know, it's not really rocket science. It's because when we are a child, let's say that's a child, you know, obviously society is very dangerous, right? Vulnerable to physical damage, to mental damage, spiritual damage. We're not really that intelligent, we don't really know what's going on, and so we need guardians. And of course, in nature, our guardians are, of course, our mother, and of course the father, right? And so, you know, when you're young, you kind of look up to your mother and your father, almost like they're gods, not literally, like you actually think they're gods, but, you know, these are people that give you food, they shelter you, they teach you about the world, you have full trust in your parents, hopefully. And so, because, and you, if you watch Conquering Your Childhood, you'll know this.
when you're young, your brain is more malleable to information. This is why young people are much more like radicalized. Like you look at authoritarian regimes, they always try and aim to indoctrinate the youth. There's a reason for that. It's because their minds are much more malleable, and this is true with religion as well. You know, if your mother and your father both tell you Christianity is true, or Islam is true, or Judaism is true, or whatever, you're not going to have the capacity to reject those ideas. You're going to take them on, right? That's just how human beings are. And so level ones are people who they take on whatever the religion was that they were indoctrinated with as a child, and that they bring that on through adulthood, and they never question it. They never work against it. They never rebel against it. They never challenge it. It's like their parents were Christian, they're Christian. Their parents were Muslim, they're Muslim. Their parents were Jews, they're Jews. There's no sort of battle that goes on there. There's right, and this isn't. By the way, this sounds like I'm saying this is a bad thing. Not necessarily, and we'll get on to why that is in a minute. And I would estimate that around, and I'm talking about the Western world here, so USA, Canada, Europe, Oceania, right? I would estimate that about 30% of the Western world are at level ones, right? So about 30%, if you went up to the average person, this is more true in America than Europe, but if you went up to the average person, about 30% of them would say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian and I really believe in it, or I'm a Muslim and I really believe in it, and they got that from their parents, right? That's my estimate. However, and by the way, this used to be 99%. Today it's 30%, and we'll get on to why that is now. So this brings us on to the next level. And the next level is, of course, level 2. And I'm going to draw again, so guess what this is. If you've watched anything I've made before, some of you will already know what it is now. There we go, let's draw that there. People tell me despite being a terrible artist, I have an unusual art style, which some people find charming. I think it looks childish, frankly. All right, so what is this? What is this here? Well, this is, of course, the stereotypical fedora-wearing atheist, right? It's just a stereotype. And level 2. Level 2 is essentially the opposite of level 1. It's people who have rejected the religion that they were indoctrinated with from birth. Apologies if my typing's not great, but does it really matter now? Right, so back in around, from like the 1990s to the early 2010s, there was a movement in the Western world called New Atheism, and I'm sure you know about it. Some of you might have even been a part of it. I know I was. And it mostly affected millennial generation, zillennials, less so Generation Z, but definitely millennials the most. And the idea of it was that Christianity specifically, but also all religions, but Christianity was primarily targeted. The idea was we don't need religion anymore. Right? We can throw it out because now we have science, right? So religion was viewed as just like a sort of primitive way to understand the world, to rationalize why we exist, whereas science is an objective observation. So we don't need religion anymore. Why do we need religion when we've got science? And so New Age atheism had an obsession, and I really do mean an obsession, with really putting down Christianity, but also just getting rid of all religions. And the idea is that the New Age atheists believed in this utopian world where we could explore the stars. Like religion was something that was holding us back, right? And it's not a good thing for humanity. And that if only we could purge these myths, right, from Western civilization, we could get to the stars. We could be exploring planets, and our species would advance. So they don't hate religion or Christianity for an illogical reason. Well, some of them do. Like some of them were beaten with like Bibles, and then it's like giving them PTSD. But most New Age atheists were just like, we want to advance as a species, and religion's holding us back. We don't need these fairy tales anymore, right? And so the New Age atheism was all about minimizing Christianity minimizing Christianity's role in the West and prioritizing science, right? Facts and logic, right? Fact, literally, it's all about rationality. And I would estimate, because New Age atheism was very successful, and maybe not so much today, for reasons we'll get into, but 10 years ago it was very successful, and 20 years ago very much so. I would estimate that around 60% of people in the Western world now believe in New Atheism. Maybe that, and I'm not saying 60% of the Western population are fedora-wearing atheists. As I said, that's a stereotype. But 60% of people in the West probably don't go to church or a mosque or a synagogue, and they probably don't really believe in God, and God is something that is secondary to their existence. They might say they're a Christian, right, for like cultural reasons. They might celebrate Christmas, but they're the kind of people who on Christmas, they just open gifts. They don't pray, they don't read the Bible, they don't think about God, they don't, you know what I mean? It's become secular, as I've said, it's become consumerized. And so these people, they're not necessarily fedora-wearing atheists, but they don't believe in God really, right? Religion's not a big part of their life. And I'd say this is the stereotypical Westerner today. However, there's also level 3, and these people are very rare, right? And I mean very, very rare. Level 3, and I would consider myself in this category, and I'm not trying to sound like enlightened or whatever, but this is the reason I'm making this. Level 3. Now, there's no point me even drawing anything really here, but because you're not going to guess what this is anyway, probably. But I'll draw it anyway. Oh, this is a terrible drawing. You're not gonna know what I'm drawing here. It looks like Jimmy Neutron. Oh, look at that! What a mess. Okay, this looks stupid, but this is meant to be someone with such a big brain that they're having to hold it because their brain's so big, right? That's what that doesn't look like that at all. Looks ridiculous, but whatever, right? And so this is, and listen carefully here. This is essentially people who have been religious, then rejected it, then realized religion is a necessary, to expand this out a bit, this is very unprofessional, is a necessary civilizational bedrock. There we go. Right, so you'll notice with the levels, as we go up each time, level 2s have been level 1s, right? Well, level 3s have been level 2s and level 1s, right? These are people who have been religious, then they were new atheists, and then they've either gone back to religion, or they now support religion, even if they're not religious themselves. And the reason why these people exist is because, well, let me draw another demonstration, because what do I mean by civilizational bedrock? Well, what is a bedrock? Right, a bedrock is something that this is a bedrock, right? It's a ground, and you build something on top of it. And so, let's say your house, for example, right? Your house is here, but it's built on top of a bedrock. What happens if the bedrock disappears? Well, your house falls down, right? Your house needs a bedrock, or you don't have anything. And in the Western world, for a millennia, everything in the West, Christianity was the bedrock of Western civilization. Almost everything was built on top of Christianity, or at least had Christianity in mind. There's hardly anything where you can ignore Christianity. The morals come from Christianity, the laws come from Christianity, the culture, even the economics come from Christianity. Like let me draw one of my favorite things in the world. The institutions of society, the 6 institutions, right? All of these were influenced by Christianity, right? So, for example, let's go through these to give you an idea. Culture. The culture was Christian. As I said, the morals came from Christianity. There's a reason why people didn't work on Sunday, for example, right? That came from Christianity. You can't study the last 1,000 years of Western history and just ignore Christianity. Like, good luck trying to do that, right? You've got wars started over this. And then you had the economics. Again, certain things were frowned upon because the Bible said that it was not. I'm just going to use the word haram. Why not? It's the best. We need a word like that in the English language, frankly. So you're not allowed to do prostitution, for example, and now that's collapsed. You have OnlyFans, right? When the institutions, when the bedrock of Christianity collapses, these things change. What else have we got? We had education. Christianity highly influenced the development of the education system. Things like modern science, as we said before, people don't think of it this way because we view Christianity at odds with science, but Christianity used to be science, really. And I don't mean that in a used to overrule it way. But a lot of the most famous scientists in the world were Christian, right? What else? Laws, right? Certain laws were enforced because of Christianity. Like, God, you could name endless things, and these laws were influenced by the culture of Christianity in the Bible. What else? Media. Right, a lot of shows, a lot of movies, music, it all had Christian sensibilities, right? You couldn't really make something where it was like, oh man, Satan's such a good guy. You would be viewed as like, oh no, you're going to be boycotted, right? And these values were promoted through the media. Now this has collapsed. You start to see the media is taking a really dark turn. It's not good at all. And yeah, what is the last one? I always forget what the last one is. Oh yeah, health. Yeah, so of course, Christianity prevented a lot of things like STIs, STDs, because it promoted things like marriage, family. You're not meant to have recreational intercourse willy-nilly, no pun intended. And as soon as these things went away, what do we have? We have, you have people learning about chlamydia 24/7. Every single time I accidentally turn on a television, there's always an advertisement about chlamydia. And I think to myself, is this such a big thing? Like, why is everyone getting chlamydia? Anyway, whatever. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is Christianity informed all these things. It was the bedrock. That you couldn't ignore it. And now that Christianity has gone in the Western world, what's happened? There's a void. There's a void that's been created here. And what we see in the West is numerous forces trying to fill in this void, and we all have our theories what it might be. Some people say, oh, it might be a new Christianity, like a more zealous form of Christianity, probably likely in the United States. Some people say it might be Islam. I happen to believe this is very true in Europe. I don't see why not. Or perhaps maybe it'll be some form of fascism, right? Some form of fascism will take its place that will be really scientific. Not science. So, the science that we have today is turned into a sort of religion, and that's kind of why Sciencemas as a concept is so funny. Because the idea that rationality can be this bedrock is delusional, because human beings are not rational creatures anyway. We need a mythos, an unprovable, an undisprovable, I should say, mythos that makes us feel like we're connected with a higher dimension. That's what spirit is in a way, and this gives us curiosity and motivation and inspiration and a desire for family, and it keeps all our institutions healthy. You need that. So, putting raw science on Christian songs, for example, and themes is comedic because it shows that better than anything else. Science cannot work because we are not, as a bedrock, because we are not a rational species, as proven by the state of modern science. Science. Why do I call it science? Because modern day science, it is biased about so many things that it's not even funny. For example, chemistry. That's meant to be like, that looks wrong, but that's meant to be like a chemistry symbol, right? Science is pretty good on that. Physics. Right, science is pretty good on that. But when it comes to biology is intrinsic to Christianity, and so whatever Christianity believes, science believes the opposite when it comes to gender or whatever. And so even science has become a religion in of itself, right? Science is not science. This is irrationality. And so it's failed to be the bedrock. And I suppose the overall point I'm trying to make here is with these levels, and this is what level 3s realise, is that before you destroy something as important as the bedrock of the civilization that you live in, you better make sure that you have something better to take its place. And the problem is, in the West, is that we castrated Christianity in the 1990s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. You know, we broke Christianity up, right? Like, this is a broken cross, right? And we didn't replace it with anything else. And now we have this void and these factions trying to fill it in. Christianity, in a way, kind of served as an insurance policy for the West. That's not how people often think about religion. Because what Christianity said was, give me some freedom of yours, and I will give you security for your institutions. And the problem with religious people is that they focus so much on the security. And the problem with new atheists is that they focus so much on the lost freedom that no one can really, only level 3s can understand that the security that that religion provides was worth the loss of freedom. It was worth it, as proven by the state of the world today. And you know, there's a guy called Roger Scruton, and he was a conservative guy, unfortunately died, and he said a really good quote, and I'm probably butchering the quote, but he said something like, the mark of a true conservative is someone who realized that thinking was a mistake. Something like that, right? Basically saying that going to level 2 was unnecessary. And because level 3 is essentially the same thing as level 1 at the end of the day. That's why I did level 1 in green, right? Like there was no point trying to reinvent the wheel because you didn't realize how good you had it, right? If the people of the 1990s and the 1980s, 1970s or whatever could see the state of the world today and how decadent it is, I don't think even the most zealous of new atheists would have tried to dismantle Christianity. I think we kind of took Christianity for granted, actually. And now we're kind of looking back and going, okay, sure, some things were annoying, creationism, for example, or blasphemy or whatever, but we were actually better off having that security rather than this anarchism where everything's a question and no one seems to have an answer. You know, that's and you know, I'm not a Christian because I just don't disagree. I just don't agree with the theology. You can get angry with me in the comments for that as much as you want, but it's true. You know, I'm not going to lie. However, every Christmas I reflect on Christianity, and I have a big respect for Christianity that I was once in my teenage years very ignorant about. I respect Christianity not just as a religion, but as the bedrock of Western civilization. And that's why, even if you're not a Christian, it's very important to defend Christianity as much as you possibly can, whether you're a Muslim or a Jew or even an atheist, if you're a level 3. Because Christianity, it did more good for the world than bad. And we would not be as successful as we are as a civilization today if we didn't have that Christian period, whether it comes back or not. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the overall lesson of new atheism. It's that science, being purely rational, is never going to work for an irrational species, as proven by science. The security that Christianity provided was worth the loss of freedom. And that if we in the West are ever meant to get back to any semblance of normality and stability, we have to find a new bedrock or revive Christianity. And over the next few decades, 2020s especially, but also the 2030s, I think, we're going to have to find out what that is. And it's going to be very interesting to see why. But, you know, don't kick a man while he's down. Christianity, if it was a man, is been kicked down at the moment. And I don't think it's good to kick someone down who is, in retrospect, who has done so much good for us, and we never really took it for granted. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.